G'day everybody, welcome back to the channel. Okay, today we're going to talk about the Muon Pro. This is the flagship Ethernet filter from Network Acoustics. It is their top line filtration system for the Ethernet. And these are some of the cables that we are talking about that are also involved in this setup. I don't know if you can, hopefully we're getting some focus on that, but these things are like garden hoses. They seriously are. You put a fire out with them, I think I said in the unboxing video, and that opinion has not changed. So this is the short 75 centimeter one, and this is the 1.5 meter length, again with just absolute next level RJ45 ends on them, and just huge amounts of insulation through this, and no expense spared essentially in relation to the conductors that are used in these cables. This is essentially Network Acoustics Pro system. It was originally designed for the pro environment, for the professional environment. It's able to filter the Ethernet signal with a pass-through speed of 1 gigabyte per second. Now, a lot of people say that 100 megasecond is perfect for audio, and that's been the established, I guess, way of doing things. But there's certainly been no issue with streaming at or having pass-through speeds at 1 gigabyte per second, and I have a fair bit to say about this filtration system. So let's talk about its beginnings in my system. So Network Acoustics sent me the Eno 2, which is their updated version of the Eno passive filtration system, and I put this in, and I noticed there was an ease in what I was hearing coming out the other end of my through my system and out through my speakers. A sense of less edge on the digital stream. Now I've got an Uptone Ether Regen switch there, powered by a S-Booster Mark II linear power supply, and I've got really good Cat 6 cable running through the roof and down into this room directly from my router in the very back of the house. So there's about a 10-meter run or thereabouts as the crow flies. You Aussies will know what that means. Back down to the router. So completely separate from this room. Literally couldn't be much further away from here to the other end of the house, down the back of the house. So I have a cable network system, which is a very fast network system here in Geelong, where I'm from. And so never any issues with that aspect of things, and nor has there ever been. We can literally run everything we want to run in this house, smart TVs and all kinds of Wi-Fi devices and everything else. And I can't remember the last time anything ever had to buffer. So and I think that's probably the case with most people everywhere these days. Everything's getting better and better all the time, and faster, and that's no exception for here as well. But when that system went in, the Eno 2 system went in, it evolved. It certainly evolved. I've done a review for that system, which is Network Acoustics entry-level filtration system. So I'll leave a link in the description to that video if you're interested in having a look at that. And then, so as that system evolved, I listened to it every 50 hours, so roughly every 2 days, out to about 200 hours, and noticed an evolution in what I was hearing. Now we're not talking, let me make this very clear. We are not talking night and day differences here. When you get to a level where you're thinking about these things, these are accessories. They are not necessities. So when you get your system to a point where you're happy with all your componentry, you're happy with the setup, your room acoustics, everything's pretty much where you want it to be, then you start looking at things like this. Then you start dotting the last of the I's and crossing the last of the T's. And that's exactly what these passive filtration systems do. I still place huge importance on them because in the digital streaming domain, where most of us are literally listening to music through these days, these are areas that I think importance should be placed upon. And so I noticed, as I said, with the Eno 2 system, an improvement overall, and I was rapt. And I spoke to Rob at Network Acoustics in the UK. I'll leave a link to Network Acoustics also in the video description if you want to reach out to those guys. Wonderful people there, Rob and Rich. And you can have a chat to Rob. I get lost. He and I get on the phone and we talk about all things, and often things that have got nothing to do with product. You know, because we're similar ages. We talk about music. We talk about things in the hobby because we're both audiophiles. We both love, we love music, and that's what drives he and Rich at Network Acoustics to come up with these improvements. And this is a really expanding area. This is an area that is really more is being learnt about this area with every week and month and year that passes by. So it's an exciting time to be in audio, especially in digital audio, because it really is making great strides, and it's just lots of fun to see what's coming next. So that was an absolute win for me. I thought it was a really nice system. And then Rob said, well, maybe you should try this. And this is the Muon Pro system, which is as I said, their flagship Ethernet system. And it's a system, so you get the network, the passive filter here, and you get the two Muon Pro cables as well. So anyway, I got this from Rob. It turned up here. I put it in the system, and started to go through the process again of literally getting 200 hours up on this thing. So I essentially just let it run. I let it stream. It turned up here around the same time as the Grimm Audio MU2 turned up here. So I literally had those running constantly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But when I first put this in, I played, let me just get to my notes. Forgive me, because I don't really script these things. I just talk as I go. And I've written some notes about this. So I played a Sophie Zelmani track called All About You. Now this track will cut your head off if your system's not right. It really will. She also does the track Oh Dear, and you guys may have heard that. It's often, it does the regular rotations on the audiophile list of music. And it's a great test, and it's in my reference tracks for picking up how a room sounds as far as its sibilance is concerned, as far as its edginess is concerned. And so I put that song on. It's a great test. Now, immediately I put it on, and I just noticed, and some of the things I noticed was, as I said, it's my go-to track. Immediately I noticed more musicality, less digitization of the data stream, more timbre sounding resonance from the acoustic guitar. Her voice, never brittle, but now more human than I'd noticed before. So that was a step in the right direction. But again, we are not talking about 10% changes here. We're talking about 3 and 4% changes here. And I noticed that when you get a system together like I've got, those little changes like that, and this is the case for many, many, many systems out there, when you hear those little changes, they are the sort of thing that once you hear them, you can't unhear them. They have a sense of rightness about them. So anyway, time went on, and I got into the 50-hour mark with this unit. And then I played another track, which is one of my test tracks, and it is a track I use quite a bit, and it's Diana Krall's Sway. Now, this is a great track because it's very, very well recorded. Now, some people say that the way Diana phrases her S's can be a bit sibilant, and they can be. I think it's more of a singing style. It's the way she forms and projects her S's when she's being recorded. And so in a well set up system, they don't ever sound sibilant. They sound like an S should sound if it's being projected correctly and it sounds authentic. So that's one of the things I listen for in that particular track. The other thing that I listen for in that particular track is the placement of the instruments in the soundstage, because this is a beautiful track for dimensionality. It's one of those tracks I use to be able to see if I'm getting layering and I'm getting separation across the soundstage. And I noticed immediately, now this was at 50 hours in, I noticed immediately that that her voice had more of a human element to it again. So we perceive jitter in the digital stream as edginess, as that emphasis on the leading edge of notes. Now that is something that can often be jitter. It can have a bit to do with system synergy, speaker placement, what your system is comprised of. There's a lot of elements to it. But when you know your system and your system's in place, and you know it implicitly like I do here, when I change something in my system, it's immediate to me. This is one thing this system is fantastic at doing, and that is telling me the truth, letting me know what's changed. That when I put something in, I go, well, that's got to be what's causing it. And that was the case here. I listened to that, and there was just beautiful, the sorts of things in the detail. Now, we talk about making things sound more analog, more human. Now, that is not at the expense of detail. I'll give you an example. If we listen to something that we go, oh, that's got a really warm, rounded, analog sound to it. There's a part in the back of my brain that goes, well, does that mean we've lost some detail? Does that mean we've lost some presence, some dimensionality, some placement? Well, this song, if you listen carefully and you've got the system that can pull this sort of detail out of the track, you can hear Diana's mouth, the moistness of her mouth as she's about to form notes and sing them, and as she is literally about to start to project and as she's singing. So you can hear the moistness of her mouth. Now, that is sort of level of detail that gives you, when you close your eyes, that gives you a presence that this woman is literally singing, serenading you in your room, which is not a bad thing, to be perfectly honest, when we're talking about Diana Krall, but that's a side point. But the sense of realism in her voice was uncanny. It was at 50 hours in with this with the Muon Pro, I went, oh wow, that's something very, very different from what I've heard. Now I've heard that, but there's a level of, I'll tell you what it's like. It's like you're looking through some field glasses, some binoculars, and you put them up to your eyes and you go, yeah, look at that detail, that's fantastic. And then something just makes you want to turn that little dial in the middle there. And you turn that little dial a little bit and you go, oh my God, I needed to do that, because there's just another level of focus, a sharpness in the focus that's come through. Well, that's what happened here with the Muon Pro system. There was that another level of detail that allowed that moistness of her mouth, the sound of that, to really, really present itself front and center in the soundstage. Things like the double bass, the piano, the level of placement and dimensionality in the placement was at another level again with the Muon Pro. Like when she plays the piano, it literally, and I'm sitting in that chair there, it literally comes from 3 o'clock in my soundstage. You almost look over there because you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, that's like literally like 1.5 meters outside this, the outer edge of my Wilson Alexia. And I'm thinking, wow. And I'd never noticed that kind of detail, that kind of separation and that kind of placement in the space that this was giving me. Strings floating in the air above, around tweeter height, but in the back, almost at the front wall here. And I'm thinking, oh, wow. So everything just had that little bit more focus and detail. Now, again, we're talking a few percent here and there. But at this level, that few percent, people will spend years going round and round in circles and spending God knows how much money, and you still don't know if you've ever made an improvement. This made an improvement. This absolutely made an improvement. As I went through, I played a few more songs in different intervals as I went through. And then when I got to 200 hours, let's have a zip along here. We'll cut through because I don't want this to go on ever, because I have some notes here at 250 hours, which was the last time I listened. Things were completely opened up now in relation to sound stage width, especially the depth. Now, see, this is the thing that really blew me away, is that sense of level depth that I was getting. A weight of dimension around individual players in the soundstage. There were subtle changes between 170 and 250 hours, but most definitely they were there. So, again, we were listening to those two songs again. When I put the Diana Krall track back on at 250 hours and had to listen to that, it gave me goosebumps, actually. I mean, look, music gives me goosebumps. I get emotional with music. I talk about this from time to time, and I think the older you get, the softer and mushier. I know I'm becoming more like a marshmallow all the time. But the thing that with me is that the sense of reality, of realness in the soundstage was at another level. And you don't know this stuff's happening. You don't realize where you can go with things until you get there. It's all relative. And people can, I'm sure, will be happy in their little world, and they'll be pleased with what they've got. And I celebrate that. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But I have an inquisitive mind, and I want to know, is there a better way? Is there something else that can bring me further? I haven't yet, with this system, hit a ceiling. And I know, and I've said to my friends on many occasions, and they'll quote me on this, they know I say it. Well, that's it. It can't get any better than this. I've got goosebumps all over me. I feel like I'm there. It's just amazing. And then something like that comes along, and it gives me another couple of percent. It gets me a little bit closer again. So at the end of the day, when all of this is said and done, this did evolve a lot like the Eno 2 did, and it got better and better and better. Now, Rob told me it needs a good 200 hours in the signal path, and it'll, by about 200 to 250 hours, you'll find that it'll level out, and you'll have this normality that is your new normality. And he was right. He was absolutely right. I did notice slightly more focus every couple of days when I came in here and listened. It was impressive. It really was. It gave me, and when I mean, so what I didn't want and what I don't want from digital is I don't want detail at the expense of musicality. I don't want detail, as I'm sure most of us don't. We don't want detail at the expense of it sounding digital, because that just drives me crazy. Something I could sit in here and listen to. I'd be thinking about other things and wanting to leave the room if it got like that. And that never happened here. In fact, as this got to 250 hours, and it's probably at 350 hours now, or even more, it just makes me want to hit the next track on Room, the next track. I want to try this one now. Rolling through my reference list and literally going through and losing time in here. It's just, I love my job. It's just great trying these new leading cutting edge things that are coming out from really brainy people like Network Acoustics, and they're really coming up with a different way of doing things to improve the experience for all of us. And that was the case here. The the Muon Pro is a very impressive bit of kit. It is, as I said, it's passive, so there's no power involved in this at all. It just goes in your system after your switch and into your streamer, and it is an impressive bit of kit. It is their top of the range, as I said, their top flight Ethernet filter, and I think it's worth the price of admission. I'll tell you something that it definitely is. It is the cheapest DAC upgrade you're ever likely to spend your money on, because you will get this sense of reality that comes from this unit that I haven't heard come out of anything else. The Eno 2 is great. It definitely does that, and there are other makers in this sphere too, like Stack Audio, that are doing really good things as well in this area. But this is the ultimate right here. I haven't heard anything better than this. This is the absolute bee's knees as far as I'm concerned. It ain't leaving here. It's staying in my system now. I've got to keep it in here, because when I pull it out and I listen, and I did that in varying stages, I knew when it was out. I really could tell when it wasn't in the system. We did some blind testing here last weekend with the Grim Audio MU2, and we also did some blind testing with this thing in. And out of eight times, we gave up in the end because it was just getting silly. I picked whether it was in or whether it was out 8 times. It was easy. A friend of mine was on the couch here with me. We literally sat in here and we both went away. We didn't speak to each other. We just wrote yes or no, yes or no. We had a third person in here switching cables around. It just was too easy to pick it. We knew when it was in and we knew when it was out. It was a little bit more difficult to pick when it first went in for me, even though I knew when it was in and when it was out. It would have been harder for me to pick that then, and I may have got it wrong a few times. But after you get into that sort of 200-hour mark, you go, yeah, you know when it's in there, you know when it's out. And it was definitely one of those moments where I was thoroughly impressed with what Network Acoustics are doing with this system, and could not be happier to have it in there. So it's definitely 2 thumbs up from me. Again, it's another winner. Having a really good run at the moment with the stuff that I've been reviewing lately. It's all made really lovely, noticeable, nice improvements in my system. So yeah, it's absolute winner for me. It's in my system. It's staying in my system. It's part of the setup. I am going to do a system walkthrough soon, so I'll go through and show you exactly what's in here now and what's changed. I'm trying to do one of those every 12 months. And we'll get into that. There's some more really, really cool stuff coming up on the channel soon. I've got Osborne loudspeakers coming in here with their second from the top floor stander speaker. So we'll have those in the room here very, very soon. That'll be the next thing that I'm going to have a look at. And we've got a few other bits and pieces which I can't quite tie down yet, so I won't talk to you about those until I can confirm they're coming. So there's lots happening here on an Aussie Audiophile. If you're enjoying this kind of stuff, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and show your support by subscribing to the channel and becoming part of an Aussie Audiophile community. We're building an amazing community here on this channel, and we're really getting some momentum now. So I want to build this group. I want to help you guys in any way I can. Leave your feedback in the comments underneath this video, and tell me if there's anything particular that you'd like me to have a look at, and if I can get my hands on it, I'll definitely do that, because this channel is about you guys. I am having fun doing this. I'm enjoying it. I want to share my 40 years of knowledge in and out and around this industry, from everything from a record buyer as a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, all the way up to a 54-year-old now, with what I've done and my work as a sound engineer, my work in and out of this industry, selling high-end audio, a consumer thereof the higher end audio. So I've got a lot to share, and I've learned a lot along the way with acoustics and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be sharing it all. I'll be working with you guys. I'll be helping you in any way I can on the channel here. So stick with me and keep liking the videos, and enjoy the little 1-minute listening lessons, I'm going to call those. The little 1-minute shorts. I'm going to try and do one of those a day. And I'll give you a little explanation in the description of the video what you should be listening for in those 1 minute shorts. You can Shazam that track. You'll get enough time in that 1 minute short to be able to Shazam it. I'm recording everything now on a 32-bit float, 192 kilohertz recorder. So what you're hearing in here, and it's a full stereo presentation, so you're getting a closer understanding of just what's happening here in the room. It's nothing like being in here, I've got to tell you that even still. But it's another step closer with this new microphone setup that I'm using. So have a listen to those tracks, see if what I'm telling you should be hearing, you are hearing in your system, and then leave your comments. Let's keep this community rolling. One thing I love about my community is people ask questions, and the only silly question is the one you don't ask. So ask away. I promise you, if I've got an answer for it, I'll give it to you. And if I haven't, I'm about a phone call or two away and I'll have an answer for you. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this one. It's an absolute thumbs up for me for Network Acoustics. I'll leave a link to their website below. You can have a chat to Rob or Rich at Network Acoustics if you're interested in auditioning any of this stuff. But yeah, it works. It's good stuff. It really does make a difference. So thanks very much, everybody, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.